Hello and welcome to this video. After receiving many requests about my little database systems, especially the accounting side, I decided to make a video showing you from start to finish. So let's go and open Excel. Alright, wait, take a couple of seconds to open Excel. It's going to keep discussion folding whenever there's delay, so the video doesn't sound like I'm stopping, because I find my videos sometimes have gaps in them and I want to try and trim them as little as possible to show you real time of how quickly you can actually make these databases. So we've got our Excel open sheet. So you see you're going to have an accounting system now with no cost, no... once you understand that, you don't really have to be an accountant to be able to run the system. So the first thing you always want to have also is you want this Power Pivot enabled. So the ways to do it, you can just Google or ChatGPT, but you must make sure you've got this. So you've got the database, the data model in the background, because the system runs off Power Query and Power Pivot. So you need this in the background. So when you have a database for an accounting system, or a lot of database systems, a database is made up of tables that connect to each other to form reports, which is why you have a database, to be able to store all your information for quick retrieval, and also your reports that are always made up once, and then you click into them again to as you need them, as you're updating data. But so these tables, each table has its own use, and then in the tables you've got columns. So you've got all these tables in a database. Let's just make some quickly. So you've got that table. They're all in different sheets, but I'm just showing you for an example here. So we make one more table. So this is what a database is. So these would be in your database model, that Power Pivot. And they all have, so each column must have its own data type, must be correctly allocated, and each table must always have a name. Otherwise, when you load your table to the database, to this data model, it doesn't have proper names. If you don't, if you load it now, it'll say table 2 instead of the actual name. So now, and also these tables are tend to put on their own sheets. You understand later. As I often say with database training, you got to have blind faith in the beginning, not try and understand it. Look at the overall picture, and you understand later of some things that are being said. And so when you're doing an accounting database, you've got your transaction tables, and then you've got your lookup tables. So your transaction tables are 5 tables in accounting. You've got your bank statements, your petty cash, your journal, your bills, and your invoices. So you can have 5 tables like that. So let's just go and clear all these tables here. Let's go and delete them and start from the start, because just so that you know what a database is. So also, people argue with me about the naming convention, but I'll show you from ChatGPT how I believe my naming convention is correct from years of experience on SQL, because I started off about 20 years working on Excel with absolutely everything on one Excel file for because I do people's books, so everybody's books and payroll was on one Excel file. And then, living on YouTube, from artificial intelligence, you keep seeing these SQL videos, so you think, what's this SQL? And then eventually I picked up SQL very quickly from knowing Excel first. So a lot of people also making comments that, Excel is not a database system. You should use Microsoft Access and all these other things. Yes, I don't use Excel anymore. I use PostgreSQL. But if you want to just have a simple system at home for and I say simple, I mean it can handle anything, accommodate anything. It's just SQL, just so much better geared. If you change your column names and you've got reports, those column names change automatically in the reports, when Excel breaks your reports. But those are minor things. And functions, you've got to keep remembering your Excel, what you use the Excel, how the function is made up. Where in PostgreSQL, you you know, it's all stored in things called functions. So you have these things function. These are actually formulas, you know, they have names. So you only have to, you know, if you want to create the amount, including that from the VAT amount, you know, it's all in this pre-made formula. The code's in here. But what's nice as well, you know, you can ask ChatGPT to convert it to Excel. So it is ideal to learn SQL as well. But if you really want to learn quickly, is just do everything on Excel and ignore all the comments and learn database in Excel from my experience. And everything I do on these videos is from real life working situations. It's not theory and things like this. I feel I can give you people all advice, and I'm willing to share everything to make it as easy as possible, because I want you all to know how it is, how it works, because it can make your life, it can change your life, and I'm not exaggerating. So let's get started. So the first table we're going to have is called the bank statement table. So let's just, this is the way I say it must be, and then we do the same with ChatGPT. I want to show you what I mean by ChatGPT also giving you the correct information. So I say the first column is always ID, and then we're doing the bank statement now. So it can be date, memo, amount, balance. We need a general ledger code ID for every line of the bank statement. General ledger. My typing's a bit slow, so just bear with me. You know, especially when I'm on a video, I tend to type slowly. I don't know why. When I'm typing alone, I still got to get used to making these videos. When I'm typing alone, I do it very quickly. So for every bank statement entry, you need a general ledger code ID, name ID, company ID, because you're probably going to be doing more than one company ID. You want more than one company. So in other words, remember at first we said the transaction tables and lookup tables. So this is your transaction table, but these IDs, whenever it says ID, that means it's referring to a lookup table. So your allocations here will come from a lookup table. So another thing that people don't understand, when you're allocating, you've got to get used to just seeing numbers here. And that's very intimidating to get used to. It's not writing, it's just 1, 3, 5, you know, this is what it looks like. And as I say, this is where blind faith comes in. Trust now, understand later. So that's exactly what your allocated bank statement looks like. You've got all your copied CSV file from the bank statement, you know, of internet banking or however you do it, and then you're going and allocating each of these entries here. So let's go and make a table of this now. So we just highlight this area here, Control T or Control L. It has got headers. Click OK. First thing we must do, it must have a name. So this one's called bank statement. Bank statement. So we've named our table. What's the next rule that we said? Each column must have its proper data value, data type. So ID is always going to be a whole number. The date's always going to be date. I always choose the bottom option in Excel because just for viewing it makes it easier for me. Memo is always going to be text. Click OK. Amount and balance is going to be a whole number with 2 digits. Not a whole number, but a digit with 2 digits. These ones are always going to be whole numbers as well, just like the ID. So all the ID columns are always whole numbers. So you can actually, do the data type at the same time. Control 1, number, click OK. So there's our first table. So now you also got to name a sheet, bank statement. Always name it the same as the table. So bank statement. So this is the first of our transaction tables of the 5 I told you about. So remember the 5 we said were bank statement, petty cash, journal, bill, invoice. So now you don't load this to the data model yet because your transaction tables in general have to go through Power Query first to do, adjustments like opposite accounting entries that generate automatically, because you're generating the one leg of accounting entry here, and the other entry to the bank account will come automatically through Power Query. And also some columns you don't need, in your general ledger, so you delete it. So it's almost like a washing machine, Power Query. This goes from here to Power Query to the data model, to here. But the lookup tables tend to go straight from here to the data query, to the Power Pivot data model, and the transaction tables tend to go through Power Query first and then to the data model. But also transaction tables in the accounting system, they'll all go through to the Power Query, but there'll all be adjustments made and appended to each other, and then they go through to the data model as one table, all appended to each other. So it's all, as much as possible done with as few entries as possible. So also, I think you'll have to watch this video quite a few times, but it's always the same pattern. So once you have established the pattern, it becomes very easy. And then any database you make in your life, whether it's for gym, whether it's for running, whether it's for, you're going to have a lot of uses for databases. Then you're going to use the same system, and it works. So let's go and test our naming convention, because I say the naming convention must always be lowercase and snake case. So this is snake case and lowercase. So let's go to ChatGPT. Let's go and I use PostgreSQL. So let's go and make a table in PostgreSQL, but using ChatGPT's advice, because I use PostgreSQL, but I apply the same system to Excel. So let's go and say PostgreSQL. I can spell correctly. Excuse my typing, as I say, when I'm making videos. I tend to get stage fright and I take longer. PostgreSQL code for create bank statement table with columns. What do you say? RD, date, memo, amount, balance, general ledger code RD, which is the other one, name RD, company RD. We can always extend these tables as we need. You will have a lot of extra columns, trust me, very quickly, but just for learning purposes, we go through it. So let's see what answer it comes up. Let's see the naming convention it comes up with, and see if I'm correct with my naming convention, because this is what ChatGPT goes through. I mean, we know it goes through all the patterns of everybody in the whole world who's setting up the databases. So let's go and see what it tells us. So it's using exactly the same naming convention as it's all lowercase, snake case, exactly what I've done here on the database. So I would say my naming convention is right. And through working every day on SQL, with SQL coding, I've learned that through practice that this is the correct way to name your tables. Alright, so the next table we're going to need is going to be the petty cache table. So let's just copy this. Alright, let's go and right click, move or copy, create copy, move to end. Rename the sheet, rename petty cache. We're going to have the same columns just for now. The different tables, different transaction tables have got slightly different columns, but this one will need the same one. So let's go and rename it again, table design, petty cache. Right, the next transaction table we're going to need is bill. So let's go and copy the sheet, right click, rename, bill. Rename the table, bill. Right, we've got 3 of our transaction tables. The next one's going to be invoice. Rename, invoice. Did we rename our bill table? Let's go and see. We did. Is the bank statements renamed properly? Let's go and see. Click in the table design. It's got bank statement name, petty cache, got a petty cash, bill, invoice, changes to invoice. So we know that the formatting is correct because we corrected on the first one and we just copied the tables and we've got our correct names. So we said we've got 5 transaction tables, so we need one more, and that's journal. Right click, rename, journal. Rename the table, journal. Okay. So now we've got our tables ready, our transaction tables ready. So now we need to do our lookup tables. So our lookup tables are going to be these 3. So we're going to create 3 tables with these names without the ID. Right, so let's go and create the first one, general ledger code. So let's move it to the end. Rename, general ledger code. Okay, so general ledger code, we're going to need ID, category 1. Let's make it 01. We're going to need the next one, category 2, 3, up to 4. Then the general ledger code itself. Okay, so it's going to auto expand all of them. So that's our next one. So highlight this area, Control T, has got headers, click OK. Name it, always name it. This is called the same as the sheet. So rename, copy, click inside the sheet, Control V to paste it here, Control V. Transaction, the types, Control 1, number, went to whole number. So we set all the IDs are always whole numbers. All right, let's go make it number. Okay. Categories, all these are going to be text. So let's go and highlight all of them. Control 1, text. Click OK. Right, what do we say? This is our first. These are our transaction tables. These are our lookup tables. So from our transaction table, we need a name table now. So let's go and create a name table. So let's just copy this table again because it just makes it a bit easier because the formatting that's already in. Rename, name. Okay, it's going to have ID. This one's going to be name. It's already text because we, from the previous table setup, we set everything right. Only thing that's still wrong is the name. So name, there we've named it. So our rules, naming convention, correct data type, named. So what do we say from our transaction table? The next one you're going to need is company. So let's copy name, right click, rename, company. Only one you have to change is this one, company. So this is just a skeleton setup. You're going to have a lot of added columns here, like the registration number, the VAT number, all sorts of things like that. Then if I can just mention something else, these are transaction tables, so they only have, they for your transactions that refer to the lookup tables. But your lookup tables are going to be split as well, because you're going to have the names table, which is only going to be I call them things or attributes that can't change. Like on a name, an ID number can't change, a date of birth can't change, place of birth can't change. But if it's an address, then you're going to have a separate table named name changing, so that you can refer the name changing to here, and then your latest full name details will be this one plus the latest one in the name changing. Now, you're not going to understand what I'm saying, but you need to do this because if you're making invoices to clients, you want to have exact record of a time. The same address. If you invoiced 2 years ago at that address to that client, you want that to show on the data system. It mustn't show the current address. So if you're not splitting the tables, it's always going to update to the address from here, which is wrong. You want to address from the changing address. So That's the same system on the companies. It also has company and company changing. So a lot of tables are like that. So it becomes quite, it sounds complicated, but once you know the basic rules, it's not difficult to apply. So we're moving along nicely. We've got our 5 transaction tables. We've got our lookup tables. Now, as I said, the lookup tables you can add to your data model so long. So let's go and add them to this. So the general ledger codes are first. So we just click in the table, power pivot, add to data model. So in the data model, you're always going to move between the data view and the diagram view. Right, so remember on the Excel sheet, if you didn't name your table, it wouldn't have a nice name here. So this is nice and named. Let's go and add our next lookup table. So the next one's going to be name. So this one here, click inside the table, add to data model. Right, switch to diagram view, looking good. 2 tables added, so our lookup tables are added so long. Let's go and add our next one, company. Okay, let's go and add that, click inside the table, add to data model. Right, this one's wrong. You see the name, it says name, I didn't name the sheet, so let's go and delete this, delete, yes. So let's go and rename that sheet. Let's just see what the problem was. The general ledger code, the sheet's the same, the name's the same, the name, right, the name of the table and the sheet's the same. The company must be company. There we are, we've got a fault here. I'm constantly telling people in videos to make sure the names are correctly, then me seeing myself as an expert, make the mistake myself. This must be named. But you saw what happened when you added to a data model. What chaos is going to cause if your names aren't done correctly. So it must be name. Name must be the same there. Now we can add it to a data model. Now look how nice it's going to look now. So now add to data model. Okay, let's go and look at the diagram view. Remember, data view, if you want to see each table, the data itself, which you're often going to use, but in the beginning with the setup, you're going to use the diagram view. So these are our lookup tables. Remember what we said? And we also said that the lookup tables are going to have separate tables for changing attributes. So this is only going to be non-changing name attributes, non-changing company attributes. A separate table will be made name changing attributes, company changing attributes, which will refer back to each other. So, don't despair. There's not too much, that you have to learn with databases. You just watch the video like I do, watch the same video over and over and over again. I just never give up because I'm so passionate about, database management, because I've seen how it absolutely changed my life, with time-wise. Okay, so now we're not going to add the petty cache yet because these must go through the washing machine, the Power Query first to have the adjustments done. So let's go and add some general ledger codes to our table. Now I'm going to go to PostgreSQL and I'm going to download my exact general ledger codes. So let's go and select all from general ledger code. Okay, you see my naming convention, it's always singular. Same on Excel. You don't say general ledger codes. You say general ledger, if it's name, it's name. It's not, like this one here, I can see immediately if I look at my table, as customer, it should be customer. But this is PostgreSQL. So there's my exact table I'm using. So let me quickly go and export this so we can just import it into our Excel data model. Let's just call it delete. So I know to go and delete these files afterwards. Otherwise, when you're working with databases, you're working with huge files. So you want to be able to remember to go and delete them all the time. Otherwise, I don't know if it's possible to fool your computer, but anyhow, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So let's go to our table we've just downloaded now. Let's quickly go to desktop, delete, last time modifier, this one here. So we know this is the one we're using now. So let's go and copy this exact table that I'm using to our database. Let's just quickly move. Let me just Control T to make it into a table so I can move the columns easily. Let me just move this category 3 into a better area so it's easier to copy it once over to our data model. And another thing I can say is you're not doing this data model on Excel for nothing. It's so easy to transfer over to PostgreSQL when you're used to what you're doing. You just move the whole system over like I did when I moved over. So whatever you're learning in this, this database management course is, there's no redoing anything. When you know Excel, when you go to PostgreSQL, you're saving yourself a lot of time. You know how to name things. You know how to, you can import all these tables very quickly. You can create all these tables in PostgreSQL without going through its long progress. You just go to ChatGPT and tell it what to do, and you'll have all these 8 tables created in 2 minutes when you know what you're doing and using ChatGPT. So let's go and copy our general ledger codes over from that delete file. So let's go and highlight all these, category 1 to 4, Control Copy, go to our data model, general ledger code, right click, paste special values. Let's just see, I left one column out. Let's just see here, the general ledger code. Let's just go and copy the general ledger code column quickly as well, because I should have done that in the previous step, but that's fine. Control C, paste special values, done. Control save, all the time to save it. Okay, let's save this file as a file, save as, I'm just going to save in delete folder, database all companies. Naming convention, snake case, all lowercase. This one's a whole file, so you can have plural name for this. Click save. So now if we go to our data model, it'll be updated with this information I put in here now. So if we go to diagram view, let's go data view rather. General ledger code, we go refresh all. So it refreshes quickly. Okay, let's see. Okay, there's our table refreshed with all those general ledger codes. So now what you're going to do, you're going to allocate each of your transaction tables with a general ledger code. So you're going to let's just go and create validation in this quickly. So let's go to our general ledger codes, because we only want that column to be able to take from the general ledger code, mustn't take somewhere else. So I don't know if you know what I'm meaning, but you'll learn now. So let's go and give this a name, general ledger code. Let's just quickly highlight this whole area. Formulas, create from selection. All right, let's just go and enter. Let's go and quickly change that name of that one we highlighted now. So general ledger code. Okay, let's do it another way. Let's go to bank statements. Click in the general ledger code, data. Let's go to validation, data validation. Let's go and make a list. And we choose our list from that general ledger code. Okay. Enter. Click OK. So now we created a drop down. So now we're getting on to another thing with databases. Ideally, you want each lookup table to have its own sequence of values, because when you're allocating your tables, you don't want this to be able to take a one and this. So it becomes very complex, because you've got to have a separate sequence table. So say this table with a list of table names and the sequence number starts and ends with. So now, to make things even more complicated, there's a simple way around this, and that's to use a thing called UUIDs, unique universal identifier, which is, you should just get used to it from the start, because this you're going to use. In this database demonstration, we're going to use numbers to keep it simple for simple purposes, but you know, you're going to eventually have UUIDs in each of these things. So to create a UUID, you know, at first you can just go to the internet and just, you know, type generate UUID, and you can quickly generate, you know, UUID in no time. So let me just quickly give you a demonstration. So now the one I use is this one here, generate version 1. So let's just go and generate one. So I just want to give you an example. So let's go and click 1, generate. Okay, let's go. So I can copy this UUID. So you can generate like 500 at a time. But if you're using SQL, you can set this up to generate automatically. Let's go and copy it. So when you advanced on database management, your allocating tables are going to have these UUIDs in each, you know, thousands of UUIDs. So I think you've got enough to keep you very busy with. I don't want to make this video too long. I'll rather split the videos into sections so you can watch this video over and over again to get the basics, and the next video I'll take it from here onwards, because we've gone through a heck of a lot of things here, and I don't want you to become despondent. You know, we want to all learn this. So that's about all for this video. If you like what you see, please click the like button below, subscribe to receive future videos I upload, and feel free to share this with anybody you feel might have a need for it. And thank you for watching.